People think fashion is superficial, just clothes, just aesthetics, just personal taste. But fashion has always been political. Not political in the narrow sense, like campaign merch or slogan t-shirts. Political in the deeper sense. It helps organize status, identity, power, belonging, and even empire. That's part of why clothing keeps showing up in wars, revolutions, protest movements, and culture wars. A lot of the clothes people now treat as neutral or everyday were shaped by conflict. Trench coats came out of military use. Bomber jackets did too. Cargo pants were built around function. Even the plain t-shirt became standardized through military issue before it was absorbed into mainstream civilian life. So when you put on a fit that feels effortless or timeless, there's a decent chance you're wearing the afterlife of war. That's one of the strangest things about modern fashion. Some of the most normal pieces in your closet were refined by systems built around discipline, efficiency, and mass mobilization. And that gets at the bigger point. Fashion is never just about what people like. It's also about what institutions reward, what power makes visible, and what a society trains people to read as respectable, threatening, modern, rebellious, or legitimate. As the Yale Globalist writes, clothing has repeatedly functioned as a political language in anti-colonial struggle, feminism, and civil rights organizing. Clothes don't just cover the body, they communicate position. They can signal loyalty, resistance, class aspiration, or a collective identity before a person even speaks. And the meaning of clothing is never fixed. The same garment can mean completely different things in different moments. As historians of war and fashion point out, during the Vietnam War, protesters wore military clothing not to celebrate war, but to critique it, and identify with the young people being sent into it. So even military style itself can flip. It can symbolize authority in one context and anti-authoritarian resistance in another. That is what makes fashion political. Not just that the clothes have meaning, but that the meaning is constantly being fought over. You can see this across American history too. At the University of Pennsylvania, historian Kathy Pace shows how the zoot suit became politically explosive when it got tied to race, nationalism, wartime anxiety, and public panic. It became a battlefield over who gets to take up space, who looks respectable, and whose style gets treated as dangerous. And that's why I think Fran Lebowitz is useful here too. In her Harper's Bazaar interview, she talks about nostalgia as one of the most destructive forces in the world, and jokes that some politicians don't want the 1950s, they want the 1850s. That matters because fashion nostalgia is never just about aesthetics. When people romanticize a certain look, they're often romanticizing a past order, a past hierarchy, a past version of who belonged at the center. Sometimes what looks like a style revival is really a political longing in a better outfit. And today that process hasn't disappeared. In some ways it's sped up. Kings and generals do less of the trend setting now, but the structure is familiar. Fashion still tells us who gets seen, who gets copied, who gets marked as serious, who gets marked as deviant, and which identities become profitable. So no, fashion isn't just shallow. It's one of the clearest ways power can become visible on the body. And fashion was never just neutral. It just looked that way when the politics were already winning.